A lot of creators say they want clarity. What they really want is certainty. And that's why so many people rush to niche down, because a niche feels safe. It gives you a label, a lane, a script. But here's the real question. When does narrowing your focus help you grow? And when does it quietly become a trap?
I've lived both sides of that. Niching down helped me get traction fast. But later, I realized the same niche that helped people understand me was also starting to box me in.
And in the AI era, that tension gets even sharper. Because tools make it easier to produce content at scale, but they also make shallow positioning easier to copy. So if your niche is too generic, you disappear. And if it's too narrow, you suffocate.
So today we're tackling the question a lot of creators avoid until it's too late. When should you niche down? And when does niche become a trap? Let's get into it. Welcome back to Self-Proofing, AI, Money, and You. The roundtable where we talk about how creators, entrepreneurs, and modern experts can build something durable in an AI-shaped world. I'm Alex.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Dr. Maya.
In Episode 1, we broke down the 7-step framework. In Episode 2, we explored the critical skills that separate successful creators from everyone else. And today, we're applying both of those ideas to a strategic question that affects growth, money, identity, and long-term relevance. Niche.
And specifically, whether your niche is serving you, or whether you've started serving your niche.
That's the line right there.
Let's start with the obvious. Why does everyone tell creators to niche down in the first place?
Because it works, especially at the beginning. When you're unknown, broad messaging is usually invisible messaging. If you say, I help everyone with everything, nobody remembers you. But if you say, I help beginner coaches land their first 5 clients, now people know what box to put you in.
Exactly. Niching reduces ambiguity, and clarity is incredibly powerful in crowded markets. It helps with discoverability. It helps with referrals. It helps with content ideas. It helps with audience resonance. The more specific the problem, the easier it is for the right person to recognize themselves in your message.
So the first argument for niching down is simple. Specificity creates signal.
Yes, and it creates momentum. When I got more specific with my messaging, my content got better, because I wasn't trying to talk to everyone. I knew who I was talking to. I knew what they were struggling with. I knew what examples to use. I knew what transformation to promise.
That's important. People often talk about niche like it's just branding, but it's also operational.
Very much so. Your niche affects what you say, what you sell, what stories you tell, what proof you collect, what testimonials you need, and what product ladder makes sense. It simplifies decisions.
And from a systems perspective, that matters. Because creators burn a lot of energy not on execution, but on indecision. A niche can reduce cognitive load. It gives you useful constraints.
So early on, niche can actually function like discipline.
Exactly. It says, focus here long enough to learn what works.
And that's what many people miss. Niching down isn't just about marketability. It's also about building a feedback loop fast enough to improve.
Let's make the opposite case for a second. What usually happens when a creator refuses to niche down at all?
Usually, they stay vague for too long. Their content sounds thoughtful, but forgettable. Their audience grows slowly. Their offers feel disconnected, and they mistake freedom for strategy.
That's strong.
But true. A lot of creators say, I don't want to be boxed in. What they really mean is, I don't want to commit. They want the option to talk about everything. But audiences reward relevance, not possibility.
And algorithms tend to reward pattern recognition. If your content is all over the place, it's harder for both humans and platforms to understand who it's for. Variety can be a strength later, but randomness is rarely a strength early.
So broad can feel expansive to the creator, but confusing to everyone else.
Exactly. Broad often looks like ambition from the inside and noise from the outside.
That's a quotable line.
And it's even more dangerous now because AI makes it easy to produce large volumes of broad content. So creators can look productive while staying strategically blurry.
Which means they can spend months or years making content without building authority.
Right, because output is not the same as positioning.
All right, so narrow focus helps early. But let's turn the corner. When does niche stop being useful and start becoming a trap?
For me, it starts becoming a trap when your niche becomes smaller than the actual value you can create.
Say more.
Let's say you become known for one narrow thing, maybe one platform, one format, one tactic, one audience slice. That can help you grow fast. But over time, if your skill set expands and your audience's needs expand, that original niche can become too tight. People still know you for the old box, even when you've outgrown it.
That's one of the biggest signs. Your expertise evolves faster than your positioning.
That's good.
Another sign is when your niche becomes content efficient but business inefficient. In other words, it's easy to make content about it, but it no longer leads to the best offers, partnerships, or revenue opportunities.
Yes, that happened to me. At one point, my niche was great for attention, but not great for expansion. It was attracting people who liked the content, but not enough people who needed the broader transformation I could actually help with.
So one warning sign is your niche drives engagement, but not the right business.
Exactly.
Another sign is when the niche depends too heavily on a platform trend. If your identity is tied to one tool, one app, one tactic, or one wave, you become vulnerable. Because when the market shifts, your relevance can collapse faster than your capability.
So the trap is not just too narrow, it's also too fragile.
Correct. A fragile niche is one that doesn't age well, travel well, or expand well.
Let's get practical. Is there a smarter way to niche so that you get the upside without locking yourself in?
Yes, niche by problem, not by format. And ideally, niche by transformation, not by trend.
That's huge.
Break that down.
If your whole identity is built around a format, like I make Instagram carousel tips, or I teach YouTube Shorts editing, that can work, but it's brittle. Formats change fast. Platforms change. Attention shifts. But if your niche is built around a durable problem, such as helping experts clarify their message, helping creators build systems, helping founders turn knowledge into content, that has a longer shelf life.
Exactly. One is tied to delivery. The other is tied to value.
So instead of being the person who does this one content type, you want to become the person who solves this meaningful problem.
Yes, that gives you room to evolve the method while keeping the market association.
And it also helps when you expand, because expanding from one problem into adjacent problems feels natural. Expanding from one random format into a bigger business usually doesn't.
That's a subtle but really important distinction. What are the most common ways creators accidentally turn a niche into a cage?
First, they over-identify with the label. They stop seeing it as a positioning choice and start seeing it as their identity.
Meaning,
They think, I'm the Notion guy, or I'm the Reels girl, or I'm the email funnel person. That can be useful at first, but once the label becomes your whole identity, expanding feels emotionally risky, not just strategically difficult.
Yes, the psychological side matters. Many creators don't stay stuck because they lack options. They stay stuck because they fear confusing their audience, losing momentum, or abandoning the version of themselves that finally got rewarded.
that's real. Sometimes the trap isn't the niche, it's the attachment.
Exactly.
Second, creators build content around symptoms instead of root problems. That creates a shallow niche. It performs, but it doesn't compound. If you only talk about tips, hacks, and tactics, you may attract attention without building depth.
So the audience knows what you post, but not what you stand for.
Yes. And then third, creators wait too long to build adjacent credibility. They stay in one lane so long that when they finally try to expand, the market doesn't trust them there yet.
That sounds important enough to repeat.
If you know you'll eventually want to broaden, you should start planting those seeds before you feel trapped.
Let's make this really useful. Suppose a creator is listening right now and wondering, how do I know if my niche is helping me or hurting me? What questions should they ask?
I'd start with 5.
Let's do it.
First, does my niche make it easier for the right people to find me? If yes, good. If no, your positioning may be too vague or too clever. Second, does my niche still reflect the real problem I solve today? If your skills have evolved but your label hasn't, that's a mismatch. Third, is my niche attracting the kind of clients, audience, or opportunities I actually want? If attention is coming but alignment isn't, that's a red flag. Fourth, can this niche grow with me for the next 2 to 3 years? If the answer is no, you need a broader strategic frame. Fifth, am I staying here because it's strategic or because it's familiar?
That fifth one is the killer.
Because familiar can feel smart.
Exactly. Familiar feels efficient. It feels safe. But safety is not always strategy.
And I'd add a 6th. If this platform disappeared tomorrow, would my niche still make sense?
That's excellent.
Because if the answer is no, you're probably not in a niche. You're in a tactic.
Let's say someone realizes, okay, my niche is starting to limit me. What's the smartest way to expand without losing trust?
You expand in layers, not leaps.
Meaning?
Meaning you move into adjacent territory that feels like a natural evolution of what people already know you for. If people know you for helping creators write better hooks, maybe the next layer is messaging, then positioning, then monetization. There's a logic to it.
Yes, expansion works best when the audience can follow the bridge. If the bridge is obvious, the expansion feels credible.
So don't go from, I teach hooks, to, here are my thoughts on geopolitics.
Probably not.
Unless the hooks are really incredible.
Even then, questionable.
Another good move is to create a broader umbrella while keeping a sharper entry point. So your content can remain specific enough to attract attention, while your brand starts introducing a wider strategic frame.
That's interesting. So your niche can be your doorway, not your ceiling.
Exactly. Your narrow topic gets people in. Your broader philosophy keeps them with you.
That's the shift many creators need to make.
Let's talk money. How does niche affect monetization?
In the beginning, a clear niche often helps you monetize faster because the offer is easier to understand. Specificity sells. If I know exactly who you help and what result you help them get, I'm much more likely to buy.
Yes, narrower positioning often shortens the trust gap. It reduces buyer uncertainty.
So niche can be very good for early revenue.
Absolutely. But later, if you stay too narrow, it can limit lifetime value. It can limit offer diversity. It can limit audience size. It can limit partnerships. And it can keep your business attached to one problem when your real value is broader.
So niche can accelerate early cash flow, but cap long-term upside if you never evolve it.
That's exactly how I see it.
And in some cases, creators are under-monetized because their content niche is much narrower than their actual capability. They've trained the market to think of them one-dimensionally.
That's painful.
Very. Because now your repositioning isn't just internal, it's educational. You have to teach the market to see you differently.
Dr. Maya, if you had to name one thing most creators get wrong about niching, what would it be?
They think niche is a fixed identity rather than a strategic phase. That's the biggest mistake.
Say more.
A niche is often best understood as a tool for relevance and learning. It helps you build traction, pattern recognition, and trust. But it shouldn't always be treated as permanent architecture. Some niches should last for years. Others are stepping stones.
That distinction is liberating, actually.
It should be, because creators often feel guilty for evolving. But evolution is not betrayal. If anything, refusing to evolve can be the greater risk.
So the question isn't, should I niche forever? The question is, what role is this niche playing in my current stage?
Exactly. Is it helping you focus? Great. Is it helping you learn? Great. Is it helping you monetize? Great. But if it's shrinking your relevance, flattening your value, or preventing expansion, then it may be time to redesign it.
Jordan, if someone asked you, when exactly should I start expanding? What would you tell them?
I'd say there are 4 good signals. First, when you start seeing the same deeper problem behind multiple audience questions, that means you're reaching the edge of your current label. Second, when your best clients or followers want more from you than your niche currently suggests, they're asking for strategy, not just tactics. Third, when your content performs but feels repetitive, that's often a sign that you've mined the niche but haven't evolved the frame. Fourth, when you've built enough proof in one area that expanding now adds authority instead of diluting it.
That's very practical.
And I'd add this: expand once you can explain the relationship between your current niche and your broader mission in one sentence.
Example?
Something like, I started by teaching content hooks, but really, I help experts clarify their message and build authority. That bridge matters.
Yes, because expansion isn't random addition, it's strategic coherence.
Let's bring it home. I want a straight answer from each of you. When should someone niche down?
Niche down when you need traction, clarity, and faster learning, especially if you're early, unknown, or too broad to be memorable. Niche down when specificity will help the right people find you and help you sharpen your message.
I'd say niche down when the constraint increases signal. If narrowing your focus makes your value easier to recognize, easier to trust, and easier to compound, it's probably the right move.
And when does niche become a trap?
When it no longer reflects your true value. When it attracts attention but blocks opportunity. When it becomes easier to repeat than to outgrow.
When it stops being a strategy and becomes a cage. When you are no longer choosing it, you're just obeying it.
So here's the takeaway. Niching down is not the enemy. In many cases, it's the move that gives creators their first real momentum. It creates clarity. It sharpens your message. It helps the right people recognize you. But the same niche that helps you become known can eventually become the thing that keeps you small, if you never reevaluate it.
Use niche to get traction. Don't let it become your ceiling.
And build around durable problems, not fragile formats. That gives you room to evolve without losing trust.
So maybe the real answer is this. Niche early for signal, expand later for scale. But do both on purpose.
That's the line.
That's the episode.
If this episode helped you think differently about your positioning, your audience, or the future of your brand, share it with another creator who's trying to grow without getting boxed in. And if you're building with AI, content, offers, and long-term brand strategy in mind, this is exactly the kind of question you need to answer early. Because the goal is not just to be known, it's to stay relevant, adaptable, and valuable. This has been Self-Proofing, AI, Money, and You. I'm Alex.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Dr. Maya.
We'll see you in the next episode.